a little housekeeping before we get started. My name is Mark Kroll. I'm the product manager for Montana, so obviously I'm going to be leading your tour today. Anybody needs to use the restroom, do the tour, after tour, they're both right here. So feel free to call what we call the Yellow Brick Road back here. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the complete start of the factory, and I'll take you guys through each stage of construction. We'll finish up with some finished products. Today is the second day of production for 2020 models. So we just switched model year 20. Not a huge change. The biggest one being we developed a new exterior color. So I'll walk you guys through each of that stuff. I'll try to point out some things that have changed since yours was built. Things we've added, deleted, things like that. But small tour, so any questions or anything specific that you'd like to see, just let me know, and I'll guide you in that direction. So let's go ahead and head to start. So here, they're done with production for the day. So you can see factory clean as far as factories go, right? But still kind of watch your step primarily for air hoses, because we use a lot of pneumatic tools. And then sawdust can be a little bit slippery, sharp corners on frames. But other than that, it's a pretty safe environment. So always come back here. So this factory is our most important factory. Okay, this factory is built our flagship brand. Half the people that have been here have been here 10 years or longer. So this is by far our best factory. That's why they're usually done by noon every day, because they can build a really good product very efficiently. But what we've migrated to over the years is we've realized we love to build stuff in batches. We just find that we get that much better fit and finish. Now there's certain floor plans we can't quite batch. Our front bath and a half is one of them. But our new front living room and a half we've started batching. And doing 8 to 10 in a row. There's times when we'll build 60 3120s in a row. That's our number one selling floor plan right now. So for the most part, we build everything in one plant, and that's kind of a little bit of our secret sauce. So we're going to cut through here, which is a little bit of a tricky spot. So one of the cool things, I've worked at Keystone since 2003, so I've been here a long time and seen a lot of things that have improved and grown at the company. And our engineering team is really, really advanced, right? Like one of the things we do on the other side of the campus is we have what we call an engineering lab, which we just built a couple of years ago, where we can just independently bench test stuff and really take on really big engineering projects. So one of the ones we took on in 2015 was totally migrating every one of our products away from assembled holding tanks to Rotocast holding tanks. If you don't know what the difference is, it's kind of hard to show you about a two-piece tank, but two-piece tanks are almost like little bathtubs with a lid that glued down on them, and they have like a flange to them, and so that flange is what kind of held it on the crossbars, and then you glued that lid down. Here, that's the way we built RVs for almost 20 years, but we migrated completely to Rotocast. Rotocast basically means that this whole tank is seamless. Okay, now of course you got where you put the plumbing inserts, but now I don't have any assembly around the edges here. It's a lot more durable, okay? And now the whole tank rests on this ledge, okay? You get what I'm saying? So part of the challenge to that is, it makes it more difficult when we want to change tank sizes, but we rarely change tank sizes, so we were able to engineer around it. And just once we went through and converted that, it's been a huge, huge benefit to us. As far as durability, and one of those things that's going to help these coaches last much longer, especially when they're bouncing on the road. If you So one of the benefits to being the world's largest towable manufacturer is that your largest supplier builds a frame factory right next to you. So Lippert doesn't engineer our frame, they just build it. Like, we give them the dimensions, we're the architect, and they build what we ask them to build, right? So if our engineer doesn't put enough outriggers in, or doesn't spec in the right size frame or the right cross members, that's not Lippard's fault, that's our fault, okay? At the same time, when the frame comes in and if something's placed wrong or not straight or bent, we send it back, okay? And so one of the nice things about this is when we do have a frame like here, even if one of our guys comes in here and bends the outrigger or you know, does something to damage it, we can get a pretty quick turnaround from them to either get a brand new frame from scratch or get one that rarely will we repair one. So what we've got here is a frame before we've even touched it. This is how it comes to us from Lippard. So what you will see is obviously the drop frame. You picked up on that. That's something that we're going on a little bit more than a decade that we've offered, and what that gives you is a larger pass-through storage compartment. All Montanas are built on 12-inch I-beam frames. We migrated to that about 5-6 years ago. You had mentioned the High Country. The smaller portion of our High Country lineup's on 10-inch I-beam frames, the under 38-foot models. One, yeah. But everything else on 12-inch. Every Montana's on a 12-inch frame. That's referencing the height of the frame here. Okay, so again, this frame hasn't been worked on yet either. So first thing they're going to do tomorrow is they're going to flip the frame upside down. They'll use this machine back here to clap onto the back end. They'll use the crane up there to flip onto the front end. We'll flip it upside down. We will then insulate with extra foil and then close the underbelly with the polypropylene. So we'll do one piece, well, two pieces. We've got the drop frame part. But we'll seal that up. We'll flip it back over. Actually, when it's upside down, they'll also put the axles on. So we use two different kinds of axles. We use 7,000 Dexter axles on our regular Montanas. This about 10 years ago to Montanas, when the first Montanas were turning 10 years old, because these were breaking on our early Montanas. You know, heavy travel. That and shackles. That and shackles, right? So this now going in here, there's two things that are important. A, it's greasable. You can see the where it comes out. You can see the bronze bushing. But also the thicker linking part too. Instead of it being a 1/4 inch, it's a 1/2 inch thick. Just a really, really great suspension or assembly. You can also have the wet bolt up there. And we have found that's increased the durability quite a bit. What they're doing here is you got it insulated and closed. We're getting ready to hook up hydraulics. They haven't hooked any of that up yet, but this is basically right after they've moved it from that station. This one's got the big rear storage compartment. That's why you see that kind of funky back end out of this. Is another rear den. So let's move up here. Oh, and of course they're starting to build the mid deck. Okay, the mid deck is the area. So this is what we call your upper deck, the part that's on the top part of your frame. What we build off of that basically makes your pass-through storage compartment, is what we call the mid deck. It's typically where your bathroom is. Well, both the models you guys are looking at. The mid deck on the model you guys own is exceptionally long because you've got that bonus room in the middle. Okay. So a couple things. Let's kind of pick up what we talked about on Rotocast tanks. You can see here how they're hanging on the cross members. You got the strap on the top that obviously keep them from somehow bumping out. The floor will prevent that, but the strap helps hold it in there too. If you ever had to remove one of these, you'll see one of the arms is welded, the other arm is screwed. Okay, so you would remove these screws and then drop the tank down. Highly unlikely you'd have to do that with a Rotocast tank. But the other thing I was alluding to earlier is when dumping your tank, the tanks are running this way. Okay, and they're directly under that pass-through storage compartment. So the end where the drain is, basically, a lot of fresh water's in the back. Your fresh water's in the very back. Your kitchen is somewhere, it's just a straight in and straight out pull. Okay, no cable pull on that one. Your two bathroom tanks, the black and the gray, are side by side underneath your pass-through storage. And instead of being aimed this way, like these all are, your tanks are aimed this way. Okay. Now the reason I want to point that out is when next time you're at a full hookup site or somewhere where you can take your time and dump your tanks, one of the things you can do to help drain it more thoroughly and actually get some cleaning on the probes is tilting your trailer up. Okay, because you see right now, like if you look at the bottom, you see how there's like a little slope on these? That gentle slope is what's taking the water out, right? Now on yours, it's running this way. So one of the things you can do to help increase the velocity of that water coming out is raise your front end up, and you're basically taking your tank and doing this to it. Okay, so again, like if you're at a state park and you're dumping, you're not going to take off the truck and do all this. But if you're at a full hookup site, okay, fill your black tank up all the way, water, okay?
Yeah, I don't use chemicals at all.
Okay, so then so fill it up so you got the full maximum amount of water in there. Tilt the front end up, release it, and that'll help. It'll flush a lot quicker. Close it, then use your black tank flush. You can actually, maybe if you have a second blue hose, connect it straight from the outside shower to the black tank. Use hot water. That's a real good way to kind of keep your probes targeted. Now that you can kind of see where your black tank flush comes in, tilting that a little bit will help make sure that the probes are submerged and not catching any toilet paper or anything.
So all the front ones are all cabled?
It depends on where they're located. So yeah, on yours, your front ones will be cabled because we're locating the. We fabricate our heat ducts. Okay, so we're fabricating very close to residential style heat ducts. Montana was one of the first brands we tested through for 0 degree usage. We did that back in 2005. And the big secret that we did when we did that is we took all the water lines out of the underbelly and put them in between the floor joists. Because what we found is back then, Montanas would freeze up very close to freezing because the water line would touch the cold steel frame. All right, when we pump all the hot air down there, we had the same insulation, but little water lines would freeze up when they touch the frame. Now the water lines are actually running in the floor. They haven't pulled any of them out yet, so that you're getting. So the way this floor is built is you start with the black Darko. Then you'll notice here, notice the big wide blanket of insulation. We do the whole width insulation. Then the floor studs, which were welded at our lamination factory, come down right on top. Okay. In between, we put the heat ducts and the water lines, and then we put our decking right on top of that. It gives us a very, very, very well protected water line system. Our heat ducts are a straight shot, so we're not taking any twists and turns and long, circuitous routes to get to where they need to go. That's one of our secrets for cold weather camping. Of course, this whole thing will get lifted up and put over here. Seeing we got on the floor on this one.
That's our
So what we're doing here is now we're going to start. You can see the water lines coming out of the floor. We didn't really see that at the previous station, so that's a nice thing to be able to see. Obviously, hot and cold water lines. We're getting the vinyl flooring down. One of the big requests that's been popular the last couple of years is minimal carpet. So we recently removed carpet from the bedroom. Now we've basically only got carpet in the slide outs. That'll be the last place for it to go. We're still trying to figure that part out. And then over here, so now we're starting our sideways journey down the production line. Question?
So you said you're trying to figure out how to take carpet out of the slide outs?
Mm-hmm. Like we know some ways to do it. Like, we could take vinyl, we could fold it in half. We need to find a way that we can do it that we'll be super confident that it'll last 10 years or longer, and seal the floor properly, so not damage the other floor. So
yeah, so on our big slides we use the Lippert slide slickers.
Okay. Just
to get it a little bit off. I'm just always worried about that slide coming in and grabbing a little bitty rock and just ripping it.
We are too.
Yeah. So all of mine are on slide slickers. On these, the Swintex I don't worry about, but
yeah. No, so same thing for us. For us, it was a big kind of like here, customers. There's like a handful of things we've heard customers asking for over and over the last couple of years. Like, hey, no one's coming in and saying, hey, Mark, show us fit to go with more carpet, right? Like that's pretty unanimous in that regard. No one's really coming in and asking us to make the coaches darker. Okay, so we're getting brighter interiors. That's something that we're efforting towards. But the carpet, the thing before we could do is we did, because here, like, at a dealership, they're going to get pea gravel and rocks, and even in usage, right? Like, here I have kids too, we're always cleaning up the floor, and a little piece of gravel under here could tear this. Now, we've increased the quality of the vinyl that we're using a great deal compared to what we used even 5 years ago, so it's going to be able to absorb more of that. We've also, I'll show you over here, developed some new wear bars that give us a little bit more buffer, kind of the mimic, like what your slide slicker's doing. But we're just trying to make sure that we meet the customer demands, but in a way that, it'll hold up. You know what I mean?
So I'd heard a lot of people say, I don't know necessarily with Montanas, but like people that were renovating and ripping up their RVs, that even in the bedrooms and stuff, they would still have the vinyl floor. Is that true for Montanas? Or if it's carpet, it's just carpet? They don't have the vinyl underneath?
Some places, I would say under a lot of them. There was a model that was super popular for years called the 3400 in Montana, the 3402. They're the same floor plan, just different generations. And my number one request on the factory tours used to be, is there a lino under this whole thing? Because people wanted to rip it up out of the back, right? And I knew that at that one, the rule of thumb was it would go wall to wall, but not necessarily front to back. Yeah. So this method of construction where, okay, we're kind of breaking down the construction into the smallest tasks, right? And then trying to make sure that each task is done perfectly before we actually put it on the RV. So all that's happening over here, in the most basic sense, is building cabinets. Upstairs cabinets, downstairs cabinets. And that's what we're doing. Upstairs, they're building bedroom and bathroom cabinets that are going to come down off this little ledge right here so the guys can pull it down onto the upper deck. Down here, we're building big, heavy kitchen bases and downstairs cabinets. And then we're putting them on the trailer for installation.
Is it just coincidence that you'll do the woodworking here and it's near the Amish community? Do you have a lot of those workers?
For us, especially in the last couple of years, which it's kind of evened out now, but you know, if you've read anything about this local economy, our unemployment got down below 2%, and in fact, you know, I mean, here it's a good thing. Like, we pay the people in our factories very, very well. That's how we retain them. But we love being down here in Goshen because we are able to tap into the Amish community. You know, whereas if you're up in Elkhart, you're not going to get that so much, because here, if you go this way and go 5 miles, you're going to start seeing Amish homes.
That's where we came from.
Yeah, so you just came from that direction, right?
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
where I live up in Bristol, which is just, you know, exit 101 off the toll road. So here, if I go a little bit east, that's Amish, but everything from my house to South Bend is, you know, suburban development, right? So if you're trying to get to one of the Heartland factories or one of the Forest River factories in Elkhart, I mean, that's a 2-hour commute for someone that lives down here in LaGrange or Middlebury. And drives a buggy. You know, in the winter they have
So
van drivers.
you do have a lot of Amish community members that work here?
Yeah, for sure.
That's awesome.
Amish or recently ex-Amish.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
kind of depends on where they're at in that journey. So we're going to take a shortcut. We're going to duck under, just watch your heads. What I wanted to show you over here is just kind of an example of some of the pre-work that we're doing. You know, the best analogy I use is like when I'm putting together some toy, like my daughter's had her birthday, putting together a big wheel. You know, anytime you're putting something together, you know, half the battle is getting everything out of the package and organized and identifying the parts. Okay, so like for example, I promise you that these toilets do not come out of the box like this. Okay, you know, I mean, there's been some water lines connected, the puddle attached. That's what we're doing over here. Is they're building stuff in the kits, right? Like
Run all one model at the same time?
yeah, in batches. Kind of depends too. You know, like it looks like we're running an extraordinary batch of rear ends. This is probably the only factory in Elkhart County that could build 10 to 15 of these in a row. This factory, oh gosh, now I'm gonna forget. Was it 18,000? I know somewhere close to 20,000 slide outs were installed in this factory last year. So they know what they're doing. So a couple funky things that we do here. So the first thing I like to show is our sidewalls. So our sidewalls aren't made in this factory. They're made in a separate factory. I'll point it out when we go back in the parking lot, but our lamination factory is kind of like just over that way, kind of behind the corporate office. When it was built, it was the 4th largest building in Elkhart County. I don't know if it still is, but it was 12 years ago when we built it. Okay, and all that factory does, I shouldn't say all, but the most important things they do is they laminate the sidewalls and they do all the aluminum welding. So even like those skins you see right there, which I think are for a slide out end wall, all those different frames are put together at the these risers here.
And it's a Keystone lamination factory?
Yeah, yeah, so it's ours. So one of the nice things, and you've probably seen as you've gone through our campus, we've got a pretty big campus, right? And there's a whole different part back here you probably didn't see. That's where our engineering lab is, and our lamination facility. 18 miles that way, we actually also have our own paint shop. We bought Monaco's paint shop when they went out of business. Mothballed it for a couple years, but now that's where we do all our painting. So it's not on campus, but it's a state-of-the-art paint facility. So all of our lamination is done in-house, which is critical. If you ever get a chance to watch the YouTube video on it, it's probably one of the most unique things about it. Let's see what's wrong with that one. A little bit of a...
The outside was thicker than I thought it would be.
Yeah. So one thing that's different is dual layer Luan. Okay. Now that's been something that we've done on Montanas for almost 20 years. Okay. So one of the things about Montana that I really enjoy about the product, especially after being here for 16 years, is seeing like the modern fifth wheel kind of evolve in this factory. Okay, because here when I first started working here in 2003, our #1 seller was a double slide called the 2955. The 3670 was our biggest model at like 37.5 feet long. Now, like I said, we do 18,000 plus slide outs in here, 20,000 plus slide outs. You know, we can go up to 430 square feet, automatic leveling. There's just so many slide outs have come so far. All this technology has come so far. But one of the things we figured out really early on, you know, of course, along with that, what's made this possible is how good trucks have gotten, right? Like you couldn't build a model like this 15 years ago. There weren't enough trucks to pull it, right? Now it's like, okay, you got a 3/4 ton diesel. Which one do you want? You know what I mean? I'm exaggerating a little bit, but
not really.
You know, yeah, not really, right? Like, I mean, you got trucks that are pulling 35,000 pounds. But one thing we learned early on is the double layer Luan is what you want to do when you go over 38 feet. Okay, so 38 feet is kind of become a break point for us as far as frame sizes, sidewall sizes. So the double layer Luan does a couple things. You know, Luan comes in 4x8 sheets, so it helps us, you know, overlap the seams. Okay, but we also just find that it reduces your fiberglass cracks and all the bad stuff that can happen on a sidewall by a great deal. So that's something that we've learned over time too. That's why we put the expansion joint on there. Okay, and at times when we've removed the second layer of Luan, like on different products, we're like, oh, well, let's just try this one. Then we'll usually see that start to resurface itself. The other things that can be indicative of is our guys not building the coach on the pin box right. So there's a lot of things we've learned to look for. You know, because again, you don't start finding out about cracks underneath here
until you're out of warranty.
Until you're out of warranty, right? And so like here, like if I build this trailer today and it cracks, it's probably not going to be for 3 or 4 years. We have coaches that are 15 and 20 years out there, so we can kind of keep adjusting our construction techniques to make sure that they last that long. On the back wall, we've actually implemented a relatively new construction technique. I'm not sure if yours has it or not. 18. I think we probably started going to it where we're doing like this 2-layer wall. Okay, so this layer is going to have fiberglass insulation in it, and then we're going to do a laminated section on it. Okay?
We had the I don't know if that matters. We had the legacy package.
Oh, so you have a rear cap.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, you have the rear cap on here. So when you didn't get the rear cap, it basically is laminating our rear wall.
Yeah, ours was it was a factory order. We spec'd it. Holiday World and Katie.
Oh, yeah. All right. I just worked the show with them about a month and a half ago.
Yep. Second one we bought from them.
Who'd you work with down there?
Andrew
Phillip.
Oh, yeah. I know Andrew.
Yeah,
Andrew Felipe.
yeah.
Yep. They are the #1 Montana dealer. So anyway, now the walls are on. You can see they've installed the interior kitchen. Now is the start of what we call shelling. So, you know, actually shelling starts here at the walls. Boom, boom, boom. I didn't bring my magnet, but do you know has anyone ever showed you how to find the screw backers?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so this is a good spot to show that to you. So my name badge has like 2 magnets on it, right? And they're kind of strong little magnets. So all the spots where a cabinet attaches to the sidewall, the laminated sidewall, okay? We slide strips of steel in there, okay? And they're usually about that long, and so this one will have it going up the side here. So if you take a magnet, you can find those. Okay, so if you're ever looking to anchor something into your wall, take a magnet. You probably won't find it in the spot where
hang stuff on the walls.
Well, you probably won't find it in the spot where you want to hang something.
Yeah.
But it's always a good thing to check first, right? Like, so that's one of the things. Like now that we put grab handles in the hallway, we're usually either hitting an aluminum tube or we're hitting one of the backers. guess the thing I didn't point out is we have switched to a new color. This is called Glacier. So basically it's white with a little bit of tinge of gray in it. So over the last couple years, we've really been diving back into air conditioning and all the things that we can do to make coaches stay cooler. One of the things we've identified is white roof and white sidewalls. Now just plain white kind of came off a little bit too plain for us, so we worked with the fiberglass supplier to create our own custom color. So it's got a little bit of a gray into it to kind of match the pewter. But this is our new Glacier color on the sidewall and in the front cap. So the front caps are completely painted. They were painted at that paint facility over in Wakarusa. BASF paint with 2 layers of clear coat. So those all get painted, then they get brought over here for installation. So they have plenty of time to dry and cure, so we're not putting wet caps on the coach. First thing first, or independent suspension. So, and we have looked at a lot of ways that we could do, because here, if you come to our Montana Owners Club rally, every year at that rally, 12, 15 people are getting IS put on, disc brakes put on, right? We knew disc brakes, there's a huge appetite for that. The thing with the IS, it has to be laser aligned, and the way that they do it, which I don't completely understand, it's basically just a one-off production process. Yeah. So even some of the companies that offer it as a factory installed option, like Mobile Suites, they don't actually install it in their factory. Okay, what they're doing is they're taking the unit and shipping it over to Moride. Moride puts the disc brakes on, or the IS and disc brakes, and when they do that, they're chopping the axle off. Are you familiar with IS?
Independent suspension.
Yeah, so what it is Moride makes it.
We've been to the Mobile Suites factory too.
Okay, so like on there, you wouldn't see it because they send them over to Moride and Elkhart puts them on and sends them back. And so if that was something you were interested in, you should contact me. Once every couple months, we'll have somebody who wants IS, and we'll send their rig to Moride, and then we'll bring it back and we'll finish it and send it over there. But you typically got to pay for the IS yourself. Okay, so it gets in a little bit of a tricky area because, then if the trailer gets totaled on the way to the dealer, it's kind of we haven't quite worked out the logistics of it, but it's something that we can work around if it's something you want to have. But the IS disc brake combination is running like $6,500 right now, I think. It was $6,000 a couple years ago. Now it's up to $6,500. But each wheel is independent. Each wheel gets 6 inches of movement. So it is the best suspension out there right now. So, but I will say, our Road Armor suspension is the best thing short of that. Okay. Okay, so roof construction up here. So a couple things that we've done. One of the things that I wish I had one that I could find, but where are those at? Oh, here they are. These things. These are some new couplers we developed. So what these are all the places where we're linking air conditioning together. This is in there, and this is unique just for that, because it keeps the ducts from getting collapsed. Okay, one of the most important things we have to make sure is that when we're putting this roof together, whether we're setting it up, and then we're putting the insulation down, all that good stuff, is that we're not crushing our ducts. Okay, especially because we spent a ton of time last summer trying to diagnose every variable for air conditioners, right? Like here, we took 2 rear dens, which the rear dens are worst case scenario because it's 13, it's got a toy hauler profile, it's 430 square feet. We put every kind of air conditioner known to man, both kinds of Dometic air conditioners, all 3 kinds of Coleman air conditioners, and left them out there for just coming back and checking which ones got cooler, doing different setups, just trying to find out what is the best way to air condition a coach. One thing we did find is that by moving the cold air returns in, we boosted the CFMs through the coach by like 150.
Less restriction.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So now we sacrificed like 3 or 4 decibels. But again, it went from like 55 to like 58 decibels.
But if you look at it, 5 years ago when they weren't doing the air conditioners like this and you actually had a unit inside, those were really loud.
Yeah. So it's still going to be like 18 to 20 decibels quieter than that. So when I show you inside, if you take on your coach, because you have quite cool at front and back,
Yes, front and back.
if you go 32 inches in from the sidewall and put a second set of cold air returns in there, you will vastly increase the amount of air going through your system. One other thing we found too is the direction of the louvers makes a big difference on cooling too. Like basically when you're at the front, you want to kind of aim, you want them aimed in the direction of the air and it comes out. When we do them 180 where they're aimed against the air, the air is trying to go like this, it's not as good.
That makes sense.
So anyway, rafters. So here we have migrated. Montana started with aluminum roof rafters. We used stamped steel rafters for about 4 or 5 years. We used carbon composite rafters for about 3 or 4 years. And then we've come back to wood. Okay, and the reason we've come back to wood, again, is a couple reasons. The main benefit of aluminum is it saves about 100 pounds in your roof structure. Okay, so 20 years ago, that 100 pounds really counted because we were getting Montanas that weighed less than 10,000 pounds for trucks that could pull 12,000 pounds, right? Right now, if Montana's weighing 13,000 to 14,000 pounds, the 100 pounds isn't as big of a deal. And the thing that wood does offer us is just better securement of fasteners. Okay, so when we're taking curved pieces like this and come down here,
Isn't it a better insulator as well?
it is, but
Yeah.
like we'll take that benefit, but the main driving force is the decking coming up. If you look right here, you'll see we're screwing those panels, those 4x8 panels down, right? And that's the part that we're trying to keep from pulling up over time. The other thing we do that is still very unique is that flange. You see that metal piece that's coming over and bending over the sides? We are one of the few fifth wheel manufacturers that still does that. That prevents from having that weird gap in your membrane, and it's also just a more secure way to to keep so you're not going to get anything that falls into that gap between the roof and the sidewall. So once this whole roof gets put together and sanded down, they tape off the seams. Okay, then they blow it off with the air pressure. Now here they're insulating it. They're going to do fiberglass insulation across the studs, and then this foil will go across the top and down the front. Okay. So now you see different stages of slide out prep here. So one of the key components we developed, gosh, I don't know when this would came in. I feel like it came in a couple years ago. But this
I think we had this
is a thicker wear bar that we developed, and
I
primarily
think ours is white though.
Okay. So yours might be a 1/4 inch smaller. I think this one went a 1/4 inch taller, again, to keep the slide out off the vinyl as it comes in and out. It gives it a little bit more cushion, especially with not having carpet in front of the slide out. So this is a kitchen slide out, which is obviously a non-flush floor slide. You can see it's got the wear bar. Of course, all the slide outs have the double wiper seal and the angled flange down here at the bottom. When I first started working here back in 2003, we were in the midst of reinventing slide-out seals and going to this double wiper seal system with overlapping seals. And then really one of the big pioneering parts were these bottom parts to keep the leaks minimized when you're towing. Now they're starting to stripe the coach. So you can see here, this is how it looks before they start striping. So now we're starting to get into really the longest stage, which is what we call final finish. Comes after the graphics. Now final finish includes installing your hardware. All right, what do you guys think of the new exterior?
I like it.
Like it? Good.
What's that? That's a 41?
So this one right here has a Legacy Edition, which we can tell because it's got the rear fiberglass cap on it. Legacy can be added to any Montana. The primary things that it includes: rear fiberglass cap, backup camera installed, side view cameras, installed. It includes gem prep. We've also added a surge protector, which you can't see, but it's in the pass-through storage. Right. And the other feature is the power cord reel. That's the power cord reel.
That's nice.
Very nice.
Yeah, and then of course on the inside includes the in-command, the upgraded cabinets become hardwood.
In-command's a game changer.
Yeah, it's nice. So now the in-command, the big benefit that has been years in the making is that now in-command will control your heating and air conditioning. So if you were a full-timer like these folks, you could, and again, provided you had Wi-Fi at your campground, you could monitor the heating and cooling of your RV when you're away from it. So if you have pets, if you got family, you know, now you can simply like, oh, my RV is at 72 degrees. Oh, my RV, turn my air on. You know what I mean? You can manipulate it remotely. And that includes disc brakes. Disc brakes is the biggest part of Legacy. Then over here, I've got a full body paint coach that just came back from the paint shop. So that's the Sterling full body paint. We have three. One that's called Cashmere, which is more brown and beige. This is Sterling, which is black, white, and gray. And then we have Cobalt, which has got some bright blue mixed into it.
We got solar on it too.
Yeah, so that's got the optional solar panel on it, 265 watt panel, 2000 watt inverter, 30 amp controller. So when they get painted, so this one just came back from the paint shop. They'll bring it in here the night before, so it gets acclimated to this temperature. Then we'll put the graphics on it, the awnings on it, the outside lights. But this will be painted at our paint facility.
What model is that?
It still has graphics on?
This is the stuff that'll say Montana on Big Sky. Or
okay.
Like the logo. This is a front bath. Oh yeah, this is a 3931 front bath. So it's got the front bath, half bath.
A big thank you to Mark and Keystone for such a fun and family-friendly tour. We loved seeing how our home was built and just the interactive experience that was offered.